Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks has recently been on a podcast with Tucker Carlson. Specifically, Tucker Carlson invited him on his show. I've watched it. I watched it a couple of times, and I got angry. We'll talk about that. Welcome to the Daily Objective today. My name is Daniel, and I'll be taking you through this episode. And yeah, just to go a little bit before we watch the thing, the reason why I was actually interested in why I got so agitated, why I got so angry, because the fact is, especially on this show, in the in the last few years, there wasn't as much to be happy about, especially from the things we've covered. Um, so why, and I generally do not get that agitated. So I was wondering why specifically these two people? Why am I specifically getting really agitated from specifically those people? And I think I have at least somewhat of an answer. I think one part is, or specifically, there's a couple concepts that I want to discuss today in the context. One is populism. And people use that word, and I don't think many people oftentimes know what populism really is. So if I had to give my definition, the way I usually look at it is populism is when a certain approach to politics that oftentimes you might be recognizing a problem, you might be looking at something and saying, this is a problem, there is something we have to fix here, as with I think with all populists, now we see the sort of the rise in right-wing populism, right? I think the reason why there is a rise is because they have a fair, I think they are saying something that people have a problem with, be it, reform in the UK, AFD in Germany, or Trump in America back a decade ago. I think all of them had like a fair thing to say that I think people rightfully resonated with. If we are talking specifically with right-wing populism. But the another part is of populism is they don't offer a solution. They either simply talk about things or offer not really correct solutions. Um, you could take something like building a wall for Trump like a decade ago, right? That's like we might have like problem with illegal immigration. People might resonate with it. You might want to solve it, but it's like it might help in certain ways, but you're completely misunderstanding the situation of like why this is a problem or where you should try to fix it. And this is something I see, especially, I mean, with Tucker Carlson, with Cenk Uygur on the other side. I see them. They always talk about issues, they always talk about problems, but they never actually look at, okay, what is the core of this issue and what should be the proper solution. They just like to talk about things. We have a super chat from Jonathan. Thank you so much. So this is one thing to keep in mind, this idea of populism when we watch this. And the second part is, and I think it kind of covers it, and it's jacking off. It's the just asking questions, JAQ-ing off. I'm just asking questions, but people who are doing this are not interested in having the answers. So this is something you always should watch out for people who just ask question is, okay, are they actually looking? Oh, one best way to, I think, find it out, okay, how long have they been asking these questions? Because if you have a question you've been asking for a year, I mean, you still haven't looked into. I mean, I sometimes ask questions, and whenever I ask question, I start doing research on it. If it's a big question I have, I start reading books on it. If it's a super big question, I read several books from several different authors, from maybe even several different point of views to grasp. An example of this could be something like History of Israel. I think is very or specifically the founding of Israel, I think is very interesting, and there's a lot of sort of fair questions. But the way you solve it is by actually learning about it. This is something neither Tucker Carlson nor Cenk Uygur really do. So they simply like to ask questions. So the entire thing is 2.5 hours, which, by the way, I've seen somebody posting about this on X, that apparently Israel was mentioned something like 200 to 300 amount of times, which if you average it out would be once about like 37 seconds or something like that. So this is, we know what kind of questions they are going for. So the video has been called Cenk Uygur, Epstein, JFK, 9/11, Israel's terrorism, and the consequences of opposing it. So you already know what you're in for. I don't have specific clips, mainly because there's just so much to say about every single thing. So we'll watch a little bit from the intro, a few minutes, maybe up to 5 minutes or 10 minutes. We'll see how it goes. And then we'll skip to every single chapter Tucker Carlson put, and we'll comment on that as well. So without further ado, let's take a look at their conversation.
Good to see you, Cenk.
Good to see you, Tucker.
I haven't seen you since we had a debate years ago, I think, at Politicon. Totally different world. But I was thinking this morning as I was driving in, I'm like, of all the things you could do to infuriate your audience, this is probably at the top of the list. Like, you don't need to do this. Why are you doing this?
Yeah. So there's a couple of reasons why. Number one, I want to take yes for an answer. You're anti-war. We've been anti-war for 20 years. So
I have not been. So bless you for that.
Thank you, brother, and welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
And so that's amazing. That's important. And I also want to break down the barriers of Republicans versus Democrats, right wing versus left wing. I think that it's kind of used to divide us. And I think that the powerful already have an incredible elite team. They're very, very organized, and they do it through donations to the politicians, et cetera.
Yes.
But the American people are not organized. We have built two teams, but those two teams, the Republicans and the Democrats, have been trained to fight each other instead of fighting up, right?
Exactly.
And so when you split the population that way, you take away all of their energy because you have them use their energy against one another rather than against you. It's actually brilliant.
It's how the British ruled India.
Exactly, right?
Yes.
And it's done on a meta level in every way. Also, by the way, on a global level, Christians versus Muslims. 2 billion here, 2 billion there. Make sure you guys are fighting one another. And hey, look at that. We've used up all your energy fighting one another and not looking up.
I've noticed, yeah.
Okay. So, and then of course the third issue is Israel. And so that's what I want to talk.
So, yeah, let's start here. So first, I hate when people start doing like shows like this, of like people will be infuriated for you doing this. If there is something I've noticed about generally like people on the internet, they don't really have any demands. I mean, even broadly people, we don't have any demands of our politicians. We don't have any demands of, technically Tucker Carlson and Cenk Uygur, I don't know what you want to label as them, let's say influencers. We don't have any demands for them to be, consistent in any way or sort of like rational. So why would anybody have a problem with this? And Nate says anti-war is something a fourth grader would say. After fifth grade, you start to understand it's a bit more complicated. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even again, like the reason why Cenk likes him because he's Cenk likes Tucker Carlson because he's anti-war. What kind of war are we against? I'll bring up an example, right? I was sending this to my friend. I've started rereading Sherman's March Through the South, basically the way he waged war during the Civil War. I can 100% agree that if these same people, if Cenk Uygur read about the things Sherman and the Union Army did to the Southern civilians, not just the army, to Southern civilians, he would call it a genocide. He would call it that this was a Union genocide against the Southerners, because they have such a warped view of morality, such a warped view of war itself. The fact that pretty much there is not a single war that they would agree with. They don't think it's ever good. And I mean war, like war is bad in terms of like the person who starts it when it's unjust, right? That's clearly wrong. The Nazi regime, the Palestinians and Hamas, Iran, that's like that wrong is bad because they started it. It's not bad because we are willing to actually fight it, because we are willing to defend it. World War II was bad because the Nazis started it. It wasn't bad because the UK defended itself. And then they talk about the Republicans versus Democrats, which is kind of interesting because, yeah, fundamentally, there isn't a fundamental difference. But there's two things that are going on here. When it comes to people like Cenk Uygur and Tucker Carlson, there really isn't a difference. We are back to the, basically Nazi Party and the KPD. Both of them in Weimar Germany, both of them want to destroy the state. Both Cenk Uygur and Tucker Carlson want to destroy the American system. They are both anti-capitalist. They are both anti-bigness, the big pharma, the big corporations, the big banks, everything big. And they are both anti-American and anti-Western. Tucker Carlson talks about, the Sharia law is basically the same as common law in the English-speaking world. And they are, when it comes to any interest of America, which is, I think, individual interest of individual Americans, they are not in favor of any of that. And then Cenk Uygur talks like Christians versus Muslims, like as if this is something that is being pushed for. I'm wondering who this is being pushed for, or who is it trying to imply? I mean, in the third number, he mentioned Israel, right? Who is pushing this like animosity between like Christians and Muslims? I'm really wondering what he means to say. What is he really trying to imply here? But let's take a look at a little bit more before we comment more.
Talk to you a lot about today, I hope. And I think that that's an animating issue for a number of reasons, not because it's the end all be all, but because it is deeply symbolic. And so whether it's big pharma or big oil or APAC, they are buying our politicians. And so you're a rare person saying that. I'm a person saying that. And the mainstream media works against us, and they try to shut us up and say, shh, don't tell anybody about money in politics.
Yes.
No, these politicians are honest and honorable people having debates. They're not having any debates. They're cashing checks. And so I want all of America to know that. And at the end of the day, Tucker, if we don't unite as Americans, the powerful are going to rule us forever.
I think that is absolutely true. So let's just start with motive.
Okay. Just listen to what he said. One, he talks about Israel being deeply symbolic. I mean, that will be brought up later. But he's saying they are buying our politicians. And he said APAC, Big Oil, and Big Pharma, I think was the other one. And he said, rarely this is being said. And what was the other thing he said? He said that the mainstream media wants you to think that politicians are honorable. Do I have to say something? Who says that? Who, like, you could go probably to like ancient Greece and you would find texts about like the politicians being paid for and like the people in politics like being controlled by somebody else, or their politicians are dishonorable. I mean, this is like truism. Like saying politicians are corrupt or that politicians are lying is truism. It's something that everybody says, no matter what system you're under, no matter what happens. So, like if not for Tucker Carlson and Cenk Uygur, we would all be sitting here like, oh no. Trump and Biden and Obama, they are stand-up people. They want the best for everybody. They don't have a single problem in their politics or their lives. Funnily enough, somebody says in the chat, Russian journalists don't say that about their politicians. That's fair. That's the one. And maybe that, I mean, that's a separate thing. But maybe that's why, Tucker Carlson thinks so fondly of Russia, because, well, they don't criticize their politicians, so the politicians must be great, must be admirable. And well, they also talk about money in politics. They'll talk about it a bit later, so I'll bring it up then. And yeah, he's talking about like the powerful will control them. Again, like this, bro, what does he mean? What do you mean the powerful are controlling you? I mean, I assume he would say the same. I don't live in America, but the same thing he would say about America, I would assume he would say the same thing about Slovakia, right? It's like what exactly am I being controlled about? I can say whatever I want, despite Slovakia not having the sort of full protection of freedom of speech. I mean, I have to, pay my taxes. That's there. But what am I being controlled about? Like, again, they talk in such broad abstractions without mentioning anything in particular. Because again, this is something people might resonate with, like the rich are controlling you. People might resonate with that and follow him. But what exactly are we what exactly are we talking about? Somebody says UK are not appalled at all with Labour government. They are. I mean, even like remember, even people who might vote for Labour, they probably like don't like those politicians. But just find them like preferable. The idea that you have like a person who, uh, although to some extent, there is like a certain population. Now I'm sort of like trying to remember locally that do have this real admiration for politicians, but that's not broad public, and that's definitely not the mainstream media. Like, what the mainstream media talks about politicians fondly, as if they have like no problems with that. I mean, in my own country, that like the news constantly criticize the politicians on either side. I mean, I've lived through several governments in my own country, and like the media has been tough on all of them. Even technically, we do not have like the left or right in the proper sense, but sort of the opposition and the government have both got the criticism. You might have a fair point that maybe they are more lenient. Certain media sources are more lenient on certain sides. But again, trying to say that that like media wants to think that politicians are honorable. I mean, it's ridiculous. Cenk is just making this stuff up. Let's take a look at more, because now Tucker Carlson is jumping in.
I hate going to motive because it's like we don't even know our own motives a lot of the time, right? Motive is very hard to determine. But when this topic comes up, people go immediately to motive. You're taking money from somebody, a foreign power. Okay. You've got some secret religious affiliation. You're filled with hate. It's all about why you have these views rather than addressing the views themselves. I've just noticed this, having lived it. And so I just want to ask you about Israel specifically. How did you come to this, and what are your motives?
Yeah. So it's a difficult one for me because I grew up in a town that was about 50% Jewish. So I have tons of Jewish friends. I have Jewish family. I have a nephew and niece who are Jewish.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to make people uncomfortable, and I don't want this to be about the Jews. That's crazy. And what I tell people all the time is, hey, listen, I like my friend Dave, my friend Jack, Mossad never called them and asked permission, right? Netanyahu was never like, hey, should we take 53% of Gaza? What do you think, Dave? Right? So
Yes.
that's not how it works. So anyone who's got that intent, I'm not interested in. Okay, you're not going to have me as an ally. It's not going to work out. I have Jewish family. I have Jewish friends. I'll never sell them out. Okay,
Right.
So, and the other thing about Jewish Americans is they're Americans, and I believe in a united America. Okay,
Yes.
So you're for America. I love you, and I protect you. I'll give you one last example, although I can give you thousands, right? But Dave Smith is an amazing ally of ours.
A wonderful man. Too.
Yeah,
I agree.
So if you come for Dave, you come for all of us. He's one of us.
Yes.
Okay, we protect our own Americans.
Right.
Okay, so now why do I have an issue with Israel then? Even though I would actually naturally want to ally with Israel, given all the Jewish friends and family.
Okay, we'll take a look at what I say in a little bit, but let's just cover a few things. So first, I just want to comment on the Tucker Carlson. We don't know our own motives. That's a choice you make. I mean, yeah, many people do not know why they might be interested in something or motivated by something. But that's something you can find out. Let me teach you a new word. Introspection shouldn't be a new word for anybody, because that's what everybody does. You calm down, you look into your mind, and you think, okay, am I what following? Am I what saying right? And this is not even when it comes to politics or philosophy, right? You do that. Am I exercising enough? Am I eating enough? Introspection and sort of knowing your own motivation is an important part of your whole life. And the idea that Tucker just says we don't know our own motives. What do you mean? You have no idea why you're doing this podcast? You have no idea why you're suddenly speaking positively of Qatar? Why you Chandler in the chat says, why do I feel and what do I feel and why do I feel? Yeah, that's a basic question that everybody should be asking every now and then, to really examine your own ideas, your own motivations. And Tucker just throws here, hey, I don't know why I'm doing it. I don't know why I invited you. Maybe he didn't mean it broadly. Maybe he meant it with something. But he goes to something fundamental. I mean, when it comes to supporting Israel or opposing Israel, especially when it comes to the accusation of genocide, that seems like something you should know about your motivation and not just go based on some gut feeling. But he talked about motivations, and generally I do not like the saying, Takar is and I said Takar, Tucker Carlson is owned by Qatar, or even that either of those are anti-Semitic as the primary cause. As the primary thing, I'll talk about what they are saying. If there is a strong feeling towards something, you should make up your own mind. What do you think? I won't tell you that I think these guys are anti-Semitic or I not. I think when it comes to bigotry, it's usually pretty apparent and doesn't necessarily have to be pointed out. Then Cenk Uygur talks about he grew up in 50% Jewish town. He rejects anti-Semitism. He thinks Jewish Americans are Americans, and he also mentioned Dave Smith is an amazing ally and we protect our own. Again, a lot of generalities. What does protecting our own mean? Is Dave Smith I cannot criticize him because I'm not American, or what does he mean exactly? And I'm not saying that this is what Cenk Uygur is saying. He's just very abstract in what he's saying. And I don't really know what he's trying to say. For Dave Smith, people can look up our earlier episodes. I won't talk about him specifically, although I bet we could. So let's take a look a little bit more.
That I have, right? And I didn't know a lot of Palestinians growing up. I only knew one Palestinian. We had one in our high school, and we had hundreds of Jewish folks who loved Israel, etc. Right? The problem with Israel isn't just the genocide that they just committed, but that would be enough. That is a horrific injustice.
In Gaza.
In Gaza. I mean, you've got well over 70,000 dead. You've got God knows how many thousands buried in the rubble, and they're adding to the count every day. You've got 10% of the entire population that was either killed or injured, which is a stunning number. That's why every genocide scholar says it's obviously a genocide, right?
10% of the entire population?
Yes, either killed or injured. Okay.
So that'd be over 200,000.
Yes, that's right. Because the amount injured are well over 130,000. Okay.
But just to be clear on that, that's a number that we should know, I think, since we paid for it. And I think it's so important to know what death tolls and the injury count is, because you did this and you have to know what the consequences are. I think it's totally fair. We don't know in the Russia-Ukraine war. We have no idea. And we have no idea in Gaza. So I just want to say that there are estimates that it's over 500,000. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's the point. We should know that.
Yeah,
we have a right to know that.
So Tucker, that's going to go to points 2 and 3, which
I could just interrupted within me. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, not at all. Not at all. But I want to come back to that because 2 and 3 are super important because it's symbolic of the power that all the donor class has, not just Israel. But also with Israel, you have gaslighting that is extreme, where you don't have that in any other
Can you explain what that is?
So you'll say, hey, I don't think we should give Israel another $30 billion or another $100 billion. I want to get into all these numbers in a second, right? And they'll say anti-Semite. Now, so wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense. We could Mad Lib this, right?
So he'll go further into, but we can talk a little bit about this. So he starts with saying the problem isn't just the genocide in Gaza. So of course there. By the way, what did he say? So he said 70,000 dead, 10% was killed or injured, which I think is right according to what Hamas says, or the Gaza Health Ministry. Although unfortunately, we might do a full topic. Apparently, I've seen something that IDF might have actually accepted those numbers, which if it did, this is a terrible thing. But let's say this is true. And he said that all genocide scholars are obviously saying it's a genocide. Yeah, that's usually what genocide is. It's obvious. Who treats law like that? Like no law professor, no lawyer would ever say something is obvious. Like this would be unbecoming of, like, I wouldn't say I would disbar necessarily such a person, but like saying something is obvious from you haven't been on the ground, you don't know anything, especially with genocide is extremely hard to determine, and I would say it's not. I mean, this is war. If what is happening in Gaza is genocide, then, like I said, the Union March across the South was genocide against the Southerners. Cenk says it's obvious. Tucker says everybody knows. I mean, yeah, that's another basic. Like everybody knows, so you don't have to justify yourself. You don't have to explain. You simply say everybody knows, and then if you don't agree, then it's you who is the problem. He says they say like we paid for a number to know. I mean, Israel reports the casualties of Hamas. I don't know in which war you can like have precise numbers. I mean, you can sometimes have precise numbers on the militants because if you strike, especially Israel takes care of is trying to be very certain of who exactly they're striking and when, so it can keep track of that. But what is this like omnipotency that or what is this like requirement of omnipotency? Or when it comes to Ukraine, that we have a right to know from which side? Should Russia provide the numbers, or should Ukraine provide the numbers? And if Ukraine doesn't provide the numbers, because in many cases it's hard to have accurate information, to have like precise information, what there shouldn't be funding because Ukraine cannot account for every single Russian invader or North Korean invader they killed because they are defending themselves. I mean, this is disgusting. The fact that we are putting like both Israel and Ukraine have been invaded, and we put like restrictions of unless you can exactly tell us how many people you killed in defense. Would we apply like the same case to like a self-defense scenario? Let's say somebody is attacked on the street, they pull out the gun and shoot the person in return. Do they now have to provide like how exactly far away were they from you? How many strands of hair did they have? How big they were? Like, do they have to provide like all of this information about the aggressor to like properly justify the moral defense? Absolutely not. There is no obligation on Israel or Ukraine to like have precise numbers on the amount of invaders they killed. Somebody's asking, is there a moral distinction in a bubble between 70K and 2000? You mean when fighting a war? Is there a moral distinction? I mean, you have to do whatever is necessary to end it. I mean, I would say in some ways the 2000 is a better scenario, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's like more moral. It really depends on the reason why it happens. If let's say it's only 2000 deaths, let's say, Israel was able to, put a blockade on Gaza, not allow any food in, and Hamas would surrender, or the Palestinians would stand up to Hamas and let's say would really try to reform. And at the end of that, only 2000 would die. Well, there will be moral because of the way it has been the way it has been done. I think generally you have to do whatever is necessary to end the war as soon as possible. So like the number out of context, the number out of context. I mean, it's arbitrary. It doesn't really mean anything. It doesn't tell you anything about how the war has been fought. Like if let's say, I don't know the numbers about when Nazis invaded Poland, right? I don't know the numbers of like deaths or anything specifically during like that invasion, but let's say, I mean, let's say it was like 50,000, and let's say they could have done it where it was like only 2,000. Would that be like, I mean, better? I mean, better in the terms of less people died, but like it wasn't justified the invasion in any significant way. The when an unjust war is started, it's wrong because it was started, not because of like some tactics that are being used. When it came to World War One, Germany was in the wrong, not because, you know, I'm not sure if they were the ones who started using mustard gas, but it wasn't wrong because of this, or because, you know, Canadians or Americans use shotguns in the trenches, or you know, the mustard gas was used, or anything. It was wrong because it was an unjust war that was started by an aggressor. That's end all be all. You don't have to go into specifics. Russia is wrong because it invaded a sovereign nation, not because it's I mean, it's like additional thing, but that's not the fundamental problem. That, you know, they, for example, attack even civilian sites, or attack energy sites during winter, or anything or attack Chernobyl, right? It's wrong because they started an unjust war against a sovereign nation. And legitimate nation. So let's watch a little bit more from this one, and then we'll start skipping ahead to specific ones.
You take any Israeli talking point and put in a different country, and it sounds absurd, right?
Yeah.
Like, you owe Thailand $300 billion. People will be like, well, no, we don't. Anti-Thai racist, right? You're like, what? I don't even know any Thai people. What are you talking about? You're an anti-Thaiist, right? No, I'm not, right?
Why do you hate Thailand?
Exactly. But that's, see, but
You're obsessed with Thailand. That's my favorite. You're obsessed with Thailand. Okay.
Well, by the way, I would be obsessed with Thailand if Thailand took $300 billion off of us, right? And if Thailand was like, you have to attack everyone else in Southeast Asia. You know, we have a Thai Christian heritage.
Yeah.
And imagine if India did that. And they're like, we have a Hindu Christian heritage, and that's why you need to attack Pakistan.
Yeah. And by the way, if you're not for attacking Pakistan, you're clearly being paid by Bhutan.
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
People who are working for a foreign government accusing you, who just want to stay out of it, of working for a foreign government. Is that what gaslighting is?
Yeah, gaslighting is when the media takes something very reasonable you're saying and makes it sound like it's crazy. Like, so we say we gave them $21.7 billion in the middle of a genocide. Okay. So that's on top of the 300 billion, right? And that's, by the way, 10 to 12 billion we spent bombing Iran, Yemen, and almost all of their enemies in the same period of time. We just gave them another 8.6 billion and another 3.3 billion. That happened in the last 2 weeks. So when you say, let's just take one sliver of that. Hey, I didn't want to pay for a genocide. I didn't want to do that, right? Whether it was the Thai, the Bulgarians, the Israelis,
Doesn't matter.
I don't want to kill 20,000 children. I don't want you to spend my money killing 20,000 children. I don't care what race or religion they are.
Why are you so hateful?
Exactly. And that's literally what they say.
No, I'm against killing kids. They didn't do anything, actually.
Yeah. And they say, so you hate Jews. That's gas.
Okay, here is something, right? Because they say they are not anti-Semitic, but what does Cenk say? I don't want to send money to Israel because they use it to kill kids. So the one Jewish state is like obsessed with killing kids. Apparently, that's all they want to do all day. IDF. A story from mine, right? When I was in Jerusalem, I made I think one of the infantry regiments like celebrating or sort of like having a party before being deployed into Gaza. You know what I heard them talking about? How they cannot wait to go and kill children. You think that's what they like what are you saying? And yeah, you'll never like hear them straight up say like, I hate Jews. but they are straight up saying that Israel is like obsessed with like murdering children. How are you not supposed to take away like like, and it's like specifically Israel, that Israel is the only one that does that. Then he talks about $300 billion, which I think if you count altogether from when America started, which again, it's not giving money to Israel, it's certain appropriations so they can buy. It's basically like a voucher system to a large extent where they can buy American equipment, or they can basically have money to buy American equipment, which again, Israel pays back for by giving information about it. Like it's a mutually beneficial agreement. That's why America does it. So yeah, he says 300 billion, which technically isn't updated, but let's say he's rounding up or rounding down a little bit because it's a bit more, because the 300 billion number is from 2024. But let's say he takes the $300 billion. And he's like Tucker brought up the obsessed that, well, do you know what number 2 is when it comes to aid? It's Egypt at 150 billion. Just half more over a shorter period of time. So I think I don't think if you do it like average, but do you know what number 4 is? It's South Vietnam. And if you average it out, South Vietnam has actually gotten much more. But you could ignore that South Vietnam doesn't exist anymore. So we don't have to talk about it. But again, trying to say that this is like something unique, like America has a benefit out of it. And again, when it comes to anti-Semitism, which again, I don't want to straight up accuse him of it, you make up your mind of what you think about Cenk Uygur. But what did he say? Israel took $300 billion from us. It took, not Congress appropriated, certain funds toward Israel, both through, there's like a yearly, there's basically like yearly, there's like a specific thing. I wish I knew the name of it, but there's like a yearly thing that gets renewed where Israel gets a certain amount of those like weapon vouchers basically. And then there's, special appropriations after October 7 or during different periods. But Israel took it, Apparently Congress doesn't have any agency. American president doesn't have any agency. American voters don't have any agency, because whenever they have a chance to vote, somehow they are okay with voting for the pro-Israeli candidates. Somehow they are okay with voting for, sometimes they are okay with voting for people who support Israel. When you ask people in the polls, for the longest time, Israel had positive ratings, especially if you go older. So what is the secret here? Israel didn't take anything away. Stop acting as if. And what is he saying? Like, he is saying Israel is like controlling America. I don't know if the took was like a Freudian slip, but that's what he's saying. Like, Israel is controlling America. So I don't know if we should listen more of this one. Okay, let's skip a little bit ahead when they specifically talk about Israeli lobby. So let's listen to that part.
They have contributed, Guardian did a piece on this. The Israeli lobby has contributed to 94% of Congress. Okay, first, do you think they did that for their health, for the general welfare, or do you think that every group they have is named after Israel because the whole point is to support Israel, right? That's not a complicated question. It's the American Israeli Political Action Committee. It's got Israel. One of the groups is called Democratic Majority for Israel. They ran $4 million worth of ads against Nina Turner, which is one of Bernie Sanders' campaign chairs, to make sure that she was defeated by Chantel Brown. Chantel Brown was one of 11 people running against Nina Turner, had almost no ratings at all. Nina had a 35-point lead. She was running against the Lilliputians. Chantel Brown puts a statement on her website saying how much she loves Israel. Boom, $4 million appears. All in favor of Chantel Brown, all against Nina Turner. That's her raising her hand saying, I will work for Israel.
And what happened in the end?
So they erased a 35-point lead. They bought every ad in Cleveland. And most importantly, they got mainstream media to say, now remember, Nina Turner hates Joe Biden, so she loves Donald Trump. Now, that's Cleveland voters. They don't want that, right? Now, is that true? No. She has said a statement that voting for Biden is like eating a half bowl of shit. But, okay, but she said, but voting for Trump is like eating a full bowl of shit. So what am I going to do? I'll eat the half, right? They never, ever put the second half of the statement in. They just said in every news story, whether it's on TV or in the newspapers, Nina Turner says voting for Biden is eating a half bowl of shit.
What are you even supposed to say to this? So let's try to unpack it fully. One, he says Israel lobby. I mean, again, depends on specific organizations we are talking about. But like Qatar has a lobby. Like every country has Armenia probably has a lobby. Like every single country that America has, Saudi Arabia has a lobby. Every single country that, and I think. I think we might have been blocked a little bit, but I'll continue talking. So when it comes to the idea of lobbies, like I said, every single country has a lobby. When it comes to and that's simply how it is. When it comes to specifically campaign donations, I mean, we are talking about Americans donating the money the way they want to. Do you want to target that? Do you want to target organizations that have preference for certain candidates? What about what other lobby are we going to target? The Second Amendment people, the National Rifle Association, they give money to politicians, they give preference because that's their goal, right? The whole goal of a certain organizations is to support the campaign of specific people based on the values they hold that are closer to you. If we are talking about Nina Turner, if we are talking about specifically Nina Turner, when it comes to, I mean, again, we are talking about Democrats, right? And I don't know as much about Nina Turner. I've seen her a little bit. But if you have a Democrat that is not fully on with president's agenda, you of course want to. Let me just. Okay, let me just see and wait if we can recover it. Oh, and we're back now. So sorry, there was a temporary blocking from YouTube. Temporary blocking from YouTube. So unfortunately, let's see if we can avoid that. I have something prepared in order to avoid that. So let's see if we can make that happen. But okay, going back to the lobbies. So first, every single country has a lobby. This is like, again, not something unique. When it comes to specifically campaign donations, depends on which I mean, depends on which specific organizations we are talking about. But let's say the ones that are not supported by the foreign governments. Those are specific desires of specific people. If, let's say, you are an American who wants a certain kind of relationship with Israel, or not even Israel, with Qatar, with Saudi Arabia, with the United Kingdom, with Canada, whoever, and you support organization, you support a PAC, political action committee, or anything that supports candidates that are more preferable to that position. I mean, I think Cenk Uygur thinks there is something wrong with that, but if you are an American who believes in free speech, what is wrong with that? What if you really care about Second Amendment and you support NRA or some different NRA PAC or some different organization that supports candidates for that specific thing, or you're pro-life or pro-abortion, or you are really pro-First Amendment, which everybody should be. Any of those topics, and you start supporting organization that supports the elections of those specific thing. Isn't that the expression of your free speech? Cenk Uygur wants to block that, seemingly. He mentioned Nina Turner specifically. When it comes, by the way, the idea that you can say voting for Biden is like, what was it, eating a half bowl of shit, and the idea that the media wouldn't report on that, I mean, come on, it's ridiculous. Nina Turner is absolutely anti-Biden. We've seen many of the anti-Biden, I think, from the wrong perspective. I think there's a right perspective to be anti-Biden and the wrong one. Wrong anti-Biden perspective is saying things like, that he is too pro-Israel, or anything in those regards. Or, I mean, we could go by specific points, or that he's not socialist enough, right? That's a wrong way to criticize Biden from. So I think it's understandable that, especially, I don't know what district she was running it, but if you're running in like a moderate district, most Democrats would probably rather vote for Joe Biden than AOC. They would rather vote for some, in some cases, for some moderate Democrat than some socialist, which I think Nina Turner is. She is a self-prescribed socialist. So I think they would rather vote for somebody like that than somebody like that. It's much easier to explain it from that than from any other thing. And again, the idea that ads completely like change somebody's mind, that at one point, like somebody was definitely going to vote Nina Turner, and they saw a couple of ads from somebody else. Okay, now I'm gonna vote this person. Not to mention, could those ads just simply be, okay, this is what this person actually stands for, and this is what this person actually stands for. And when people realize that, they say, oh, okay, I am actually much more with that person than the person I thought before, because now I have more information. Now I have more idea about what we are talking about. But maybe Cenk Uygur doesn't care about information or anything in those regards. So let's try to play a little bit more. I am worried that we might get suspended again, and we'll have to drop it a little bit sooner. But let's let me think where we should skip. Okay, let's skip because I want to talk about specifically this part. Let's listen here, and let's hope we won't get suspended again.
think we're just going to take their money, indebt their children unto the generations. And it's just the contempt that displays for Americans is unsettling to me.
So I have a proposal on that, Tucker. So why don't we do a poll? And I challenge CNN, New York Times, Gallup, anyone to do this poll. And if none of them accept the challenge, then we'll do the poll. We'll commission the poll, and then we'll see. And then they could verify it if they like. And the poll is, does America owe Israel any more money? Because every pundit on television say, we owe Israel. We owe Israel. They never explain why, right?
People really say that?
All the time.
Okay, I want to comment on it, because look at even Tucker Carlson, maybe like says this is BS. Like everybody says America owes Israel money. And Cenk Uygur later is going to saying that this is for the Holocaust. Who says that? Who says, like, and even Tucker says, like, I've never heard that. I've never heard somebody saying that. Yeah, of course you haven't heard it because nobody says it. Like, Cenk is dealing with strawmans. Who says, like, America owes Israel? We never said it on this channel. I mean, maybe in some, like, super specific, like, contextual, dependent things. But I don't think we've ever said that. And we have it suspended again, unfortunately. So this has never happened. Okay, I'm trying to think how to get away from it. All right, I'll just finish this one and then we'll probably wrap up. So again, as I've said, this has never happened. The idea that somebody is saying oath. Whenever we talk about it on this channel, we say there is a there might be a certain moral obligation, but that comes selfishly from American side, where America has a justification for or uh, has definitely a reason to support Israel. But this doesn't come from oh, are we no, we're not back. This doesn't come from America having some obligation or moral obligation or some debt to Israel. It comes from America having debt to itself, basically to either support Israel because it can get the information about the weapons, like weapon information, or Iran is a threat to America. Israel is a very convenient ally against against Iran, not just because of the arms, or not just because it's simply fighting, because you could say Saudi Arabia could fulfill the same role, but I think more importantly, from the fact that Israel is also a legitimate country. It's a Western country. It's a moral country. So I think the alliance is both very convenient and very moral. This is where I think the reasoning for American support of Israel comes from, not from some sort of owing or anything in that regard. And it looks like we are back, but unfortunately, it looks like YouTube is shutting down this. Um, so we did cover a little bit. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like we can continue this further, since anytime I try to show more, we will get automatically suspended. There is a lot to still talk about. There is a lot to still talk about when it comes to Tucker and Cenk. Maybe we'll try to do another episode. I think we could definitely get much more out of this. In the meantime, I'll try to figure out why we're getting suspended. People are like looking for reasons why it is getting suspended. The reason is obvious. When you share certain videos on YouTube, especially during a live stream, YouTube might automatically block it because it thinks that we are basically like stealing the material. I think what we are doing falls easily, or I think would fall under the fair use, and would fall under even like the YouTube understanding, where we show a little bit, then we comment on it. And then we comment on it, so we are not replacing the original context. But unfortunately, because it's automatic, I cannot really make the case for it immediately. And somebody says I can put a graphic over the clips. We've tried that in the past, and even audio itself is blocked. So even if I just play the audio, it would still block it. So that's why it's very unfortunate. But like I've said, we'll try to maybe we'll try to get specific clips, and we'll try to talk more about it. Still, I think we've covered a decent amount of Tucker and Cenk today. So thank you everybody for watching this today, especially from staying even. Somebody says use AI to alter sound. That's that's a one thing we could try. But like I've said, we will maybe we could do another episode on this, because I think there's a lot to go through. So thank you guys for staying, especially through the suspensions. And we will be back tomorrow with another episode of the Daily Objective. Until then, thank you for watching, and bye bye.